because of how it sounded, you have an amazing relationship with her. So I'm just wondering what's on your mind.
Normally, Inga Davis, our fantastic GSU virtual assistant, will call me or WhatsApp me 5 minutes before any meeting or call I'm supposed to have and say, don't forget, you have a meeting in 5 minutes. But she's on break right now. So she didn't do that. And I, of course, I'm like, oh no, I'm late. So I've become completely dependent on her to manage my calendar.
Wow. It's not the first time that I've heard people saying, I just want my VA to be like on top of me, making sure that everything is on point. And I'm happy to know that that's working out. I really don't mind you being late for any type of recording. Like this is just a one-on-one, nothing scripted.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
The fact that you have that arrangement and that it's working out for you, I'm very happy to hear that.
So the amazing thing is that I didn't really have to ask her. That's just sort of her nature. Um, I'm a little OCD, my partner's a little less so, and she figured out, and her natural tendency was just, they have an appointment, they have a phone call, it's on the calendar, and just call 10 minutes ahead to call us or text us 10 minutes ahead to say, hey, don't forget, you've got this coming up. Do you have everything you need? Do you need anything else? Et cetera, et cetera. If we have appearances like out of the office, which is rare these days because of COVID, the night before she'll do that. I had a call at 8:30 this morning, and she's not even supposed to start until 8:30, and I got a WhatsApp from her at 8:15 going, you have a call at 8:30, are you ready? So she's super on top of things. She's very organized. That's just her nature, which works really well for us.
So I know that she's been working with you for about 2 years, right?
Yep, August.
And what's that relationship like? Like, how did you start? Because I imagine, was she like this the moment that she came in? You said that she pretty much did this herself, not upon request by you, but how did that relationship evolve? Because it seems not only me, like I can understand now why our marketing assistant, when she reached out, she said there was a lot of care between you two just by a phone call. So I'm wondering how that relationship pretty much got built.
So my husband and I had been saying, okay, we need somebody, we need an assistant. And we looked around, and the folks we were finding were just not, for a variety of reasons, meeting what we needed. And a couple of colleagues of mine had used GSU, and he and I talked about it. We said, yeah, let's have the call, let's talk to them. And we realized very quickly, and this was especially now the mindset changed because of the pandemic. Yeah, it's totally possible to have someone who isn't physically in the office who's helping out with stuff. And it was funny, when she first came on board, we hadn't switched over to the voice over IP phone system yet. I'm looking down here because that's where my phone normally is, but I think I put it down someplace. And that was the biggest challenge, honestly, was dealing with the voice over IP phone people who were, there were issues, but in the meantime, just to back up, so we spoke to our initial, customer consult person, and she got a sense of who we were, and she sent us, I think she really only sent us one video, which was Inga. And we'd spent a lot of time explaining, we're married, we've been running our own firm, it's family law, so we need someone who's got a lot of empathy, but there's two of us, we have different styles, so we need someone who's going to be very organized, but also has to have a good sense of humor, not ridiculously inappropriately so, but just sort of understand you need to break the tension sometimes. Yeah. And we watched her video, and she was very upbeat, very outgoing, very described herself as very organized and proactive. And we thought, okay, great, we'll talk to her. And we're having the video interview with her, and we're asking her questions. And one of the things we liked was she'd say, look, I don't know anything about family law, but I can learn. This is what I've done before. This is what I picked up. We were like, great. And at the end of the interview, I said to her, okay, there's one more question. It's really important. This could be make or break. She's like, oh my gosh, okay, what is it? And I said, Marvel or DC? And she goes, Marvel. And I'm like, okay, we're good. So she is, when she started, she had an email address through our email server, but we didn't have the phones working yet. But she was right on it. She was learning our, we use MyCase, the client portal. She was in there learning. We got her a MyCase account, an email account. She was right in there learning how MyCase worked, figuring out, calendaring, handling calendaring things for us via email, even though she couldn't do it by phone because the stupid phone system wasn't working. She was right in it right away. We would say to her, okay, we got these notices from the court. I'd scan them. I'd email them over to her. They'd be set up on the calendar, the contact information. She was establishing relationships with adversaries' offices, judges' chambers, just getting everything organized right away. And then the minute we got the phone system issue solved, it was amazing, because one of the problems with running a small firm is you're stopping to answer the phone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And having Inga being our first line of contact has been wonderful, because she's great with the clients, even the really neurotic ones that have to be talked off the ledge, which is like all of family law. But we're also not being interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll say to her at the beginning of the day, I'm expecting a call back from, X, Y, and Z. She'll know to put those calls through. Otherwise, she'll take a message, or I'll say, if ABC calls, schedule a call for me. Things will come up, and she'll do this for both of us, where we'll get a notice in the mail from the court about something, and before I even have a chance to look at it, she has opened it, calendared the dates, uploaded it for the client, contacted the client to confirm that they're available, and put it on my calendar. Like, it's just done.
Yeah.
And also, there have been times my husband has had some medical issues.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some medical issues. There was one point where in late 2021, where I was in the hospital and I was still doing things from my phone, and she's like calling me and yelling at me. And she's like, "Why are you working?"
Oh.
We were supposed to be on vacation last week, and she was just running interference the whole time, which was great. She's not available, I'll set up a call. She's not available, he's not available, I'll set up a call. She's very protective of us in that regard. But by the same token, when she had a medical issue come up, I was like, go send the phones to me, take care of it, not a problem, just deal with it. Like, we understand that stuff comes up that you have to deal with sometimes. So there's a real sort of watching each other's back kind of thing that goes on from both a personal and professional level. There's one case that my husband has right now where he was court appointed. He's working on a report. One of the parties is a little unpleasant. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, he keeps calling and his tone is really aggressive. And I said, okay, let me deal with it. And if she says to me, someone has been rude to me, and she's usually, a pretty tough cookie, but if she says someone, has been discourteous or whatever, I'm like, yep, I got it. Mm-hmm. Let me handle this. Clients enjoy talking to her. She can tell them absolutely nothing of substance, but they feel better for having spoken to her.
Yeah.
So she's really been terrific. And I've had her, learning new things, learning new, documents, everything from really simple things like simple correspondence, to a notice of appearance. Cranks them right out.
Out of the park.
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering, because I see that, well, at this point, I think it's very clear that Inga is working, or your staffer is working pretty much intake. But I'm wondering if this setup, the way that she's performing, Was it the way that you instructed her, or was this her being proactive and pretty much making sure that everything is taken care of before you even take a look? Like, was that something that you trained her for, or was it like by her own initiative?
I think generally speaking, we said to her, you know, from a 30,000 foot level, this is what we need. And then for the granular stuff, we'll learn as we go. And I would say to her, for the first few months, I'd say, do you want to learn something new? And she'd go, yes. And every time I said, do you want to learn how to do something new or different? She'd be like, yes. So she would just, she's not overstepping in the sense that she's not doing stuff we're not asking her to do. But every time we give her something new, she just masters it. And then that becomes, you know, her responsibility.
Your law firm was always set to work virtually, or did you transition during the pandemic as well?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. Let me circle back around to something that you asked earlier. I worked in radio, not on air, but like radio promotion.
Oh,
Huh? Yeah, like radio promotion. It was basically working for a record first I worked for a record company promoting music to radio stations, and then worked with a syndication company selling syndicated shows to stations around the country. And one of the things that you have to be able to do is establish relationships over the phone, because you're going to be on the phone with program directors that are in Texas and Minnesota, and you're never going to see these people. So you have to have that trust and that relationship with them. So when you call them up and say, hey, so-and-so's got a new record out, you know, let's talk about it. Let's, you know, figure out how we can get it on air in your station. You have to have that rapport. I did that for years. So establishing relationships that aren't face-to-face relationships is actually something that I already was comfortable with. It was interesting. We've always had a home office. So when the pandemic hit, we didn't have to change anything. We were just doing our court appearances via Zoom. We had never had office space with rentals and blah, blah, blah. Our calls were coming into our home number, for better or worse. And you know, we had the leased printers. I mean, it was just, this was our setup. And all of our colleagues for years and years were like, oh, you shouldn't have a home office, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden we're scrambling because they had their, you know, associate attorneys and their support staff who had been working from a fixed location, some of them on desktop computers. And all of a sudden they're like, what do we do? You know, we have to, and I was like, we have to do nothing. I don't even have to wear like real pants anymore. This is great. And so that transition was really easy for us. But I think that, I mean, we tried entire cases. Like I tried an entire divorce case sitting in this chair at this desk, with all of those toys behind me. And we realized anything that we could do in person, almost, we could do from here, which meant the concept of having a virtual assistant.
Inga is a very lucky person. So I'm very happy that your type of law firm exists. Like I mean that when I mentioned earlier today that the kind of work that you guys do gives me a lot of hope, because I see that there's a big lacking of that in several countries and several places in the world. But now knowing the type of people that drive that work, it makes me have a lot more hope for the world. So, Katherine, thank you for being who you are, 100% natural, unfiltered, unadulterated. Like, you are fantastic.
God. Well, thank you. And I enjoy. Mucho gusto.
El gusto es mutuo.